Hello and welcome to the Quincy Access Television Studios. I'm Mark Crosby. Thank you for joining us for Good Deeds, the quarterly update. Joining me to talk about the spring and happenings at the Registry is the Registrar of Deeds, Bill O'Donnell. Bill, welcome back.
Mark, thank you very much for having me, and thanks to Quincy Access for, doing a great service of just providing information about the statistics and some of the things that go on at the Registry of Deeds. It's an arm of government many people don't know about, but the biggest asset we have are our homes, and the Registry deals with our homes.
We will talk about the current activity as we are recording this program at the beginning of, mid-April, actually. Mm-hmm. So, as I had mentioned, we are in the spring season. So let's take a look at the first quarter, almost a recap of the real estate activity.
Sure. Well, during the first quarter of 2017, actually, real estate activity in Norfolk County saw, some decreases, and some would say significant decreases in both total sales volume as well as average sales price. Volume was down 8%. The average sale price, which again includes residential and commercial, it's a little skewed, was $629,000, which was down 13%. So, there was some decreases. And again, the first quarter deals with January, February, March. And traditionally, in traditional economies, January and February have always been kind of, down months. Some good news is, total document volume was up countywide. In 2016, it was 34,597. In this quarter, in 2017, it was 34,816, which was a 1% increase. And some of the communities in Norfolk County beat that 1% increase. For instance, Quincy had 3,279 documents recorded in 2016. In 2017, 3,510. So that was, Quincy had a 7% increase in document volume. So again, showing that throughout the county, you have to look at particular communities. And again, the deeds countywide were up this quarter. Total deeds were 3,621 in 2016. And in the first quarter of 2017, it was 3,753. So, again, that was a 4% increase. And again, picking Quincy as an example, there were 438 deeds recorded in 2016, 496 in 2017, which is a 13% increase. So there are pockets of activity, and for some communities, they actually do a little better than what's going on at the county. Again, reflecting the different communities. Some have real estate markets that are a little hotter than others.
And of course, we noticed that just simply looking at the country as a whole, there are hotspots within various points throughout the states, really.
Yes, I think, and again, when April, May, and June, let's see if that trend continues. I mean, I think traditionally the spring market, it is a little busier. People are out, and sometimes the winter, even though it hasn't been bad as past winters, does put off some of the sales. And what we hear from the real estate brokers and the attorneys that come to the Registry, or when we're out doing our outreach programming, is that there's not enough inventory. That in all these communities, there's not enough inventory to be out selling, and the interest rates have crept up, and again, that might dissuade people. Although, there are people that remembered, not that long ago when interest rates were in the teens, 18%, or an adjustable in 1987 of 8%. And a lot of these people who are younger haven't seen that. So when you talk to people that experience those high interest rates, the interest rates you see now, people say, well, it's relatively low. But when you're not used to when you're seeing rates creep up a little, that I think has caused people, it's given them pause. And we've seen that with respect to the mortgages. Total mortgages countywide was just a little over 6,005, which was an 8% decrease countywide in mortgages. So again, showing reflecting that there's probably less activity, and also probably reflecting a hesitancy to borrow money, maybe because interest rates are going up. And so we'll see how things go in the spring.
Talk about foreclosure activity and where we stand. Obviously, foreclosure is really the loss of property.
Well, the good news is, and I always say one foreclosure is one too many, and before I get into the statistics, there are people behind these statistics, and we're very happy to partner with NeighborWorks of Southern Massachusetts and Quincy Community Action Program. And these two groups represent people countywide. They help people in all 28 communities of Norfolk County get foreclosure counseling and foreclosure assistance. So these two groups are nonprofit groups. We've partnered with them at the Registry of Deeds. When we get notices, there are notices to foreclose. That's the first part of the foreclosure process. Our only involvement as a Registry of Deeds is if people are getting foreclosed on, the lender has gone to the land court in Boston, typically, to file suit. And by law, they have to record an order of notice. That's the only requirement they have with respect to the Registry of Deeds until the end of the process, when maybe the property was sold at auction and a foreclosure deed gets filed. The good news is foreclosure deeds countywide last quarter were 76 and they were 69. This quarter, which was a 9% increase, and in Quincy it was a 17% decrease, and again, which is good. And I think it's showing that a lot of the foreclosure issues are at least decreasing. Now we may be on another bubble and it will start again, but at least it's not like it was in 2008, 2009, 2010. Now the notices to foreclose, which are the first step, and if you get a notice to foreclose, avail yourselves of those nonprofit groups, the Quincy Community Action Program and NeighborWorks of Southern Massachusetts, because a lot of times, people are probably reluctant to get help. Get help. They have great programming. They have great financial literacy programs, just teaching people basics or refreshing people on, probably better ways to approach your finances. So get the assistance sooner than later, because if you get it sooner, it may help you out. The good news is the notices to foreclose were down 32% countywide. And again, in the first quarter, it was 144 notices this quarter versus 214. And in Quincy, there were only 17 notices to foreclose. So hopefully that's reflecting that, the economy's getting better. But, people get into trouble, whether it's, on their own or things happen to them, whether it's a medical illness with a child or with themselves. So any one of us could be in that situation, one or two bad decisions or bad breaks. And so we see it at the registry. It's unfortunate, but please avail yourselves of the help that's there. The people are great, and again, they're nonprofit agencies, which is the important thing to me.
Before we get into electronic recording, which is our next topic, just out of curiosity, in Quincy here, there's a lot of residential development. People see that in the downtown, but not only in the downtown. How does that compare countywide? Is residential more popular? Is that what seems to be going up in many counties?
Yes, and there's a struggle in a lot of the communities. And you see it as a struggle in communities like my own in Norwood, where the backbone of the community was sort of the single-family neighborhoods, and now these dense apartment-like buildings are being put in. So there's a need for housing, but at the same time, the character of the communities is being changed. So we see it in, again, a lot of the areas. Some of the communities deal more with the high density development. Other communities, I say in Needham, one of the more wealthier communities, in Westwood, dealing with knockdowns where, a house on a lot is getting knocked down and the McMansions are being put on. So, in those neighborhoods, they feel the character of their neighborhoods are being changed. So there's a lot of, there's a need for housing, and with the need in the capitalist society we live in, there's a need, and people are going to try to fill the need, but there's also a balancing that needs to take place.
I drove through South Boston, I believe it was a couple weeks ago, and my brother, who lives in there, said, look, he says, look at what they put up, all these condos on this block, and we go to the next block and there's more condos that were taking the place of just single level buildings, some of them commercial.
Right, and that's happening in a lot of the communities, not just in Boston, but now it's moving out to the communities like Norfolk County, the communities that surround Boston.
As I had mentioned, we will now talk about electronic recording in this day and age, quite popular.
Yes, well, electronic recording, we were one of the first registries here in Massachusetts to do electronic recording of recorded land documents. In Massachusetts, there is the recorded land side. We date back to 1793 on the recorded land side. But in 1899, there was legislation which enabled the start of the land court. So the land court, and the rules are set by the land court in Boston, and we take the documents pertaining to land court. In Norfolk County, 80% of the property is recorded land, 20% is registered land or land court land. So we've been doing for quite a while electronic recording, and more people are embracing it to the point where 30 to 40% of our volume comes over the internet. That's what electronic recording is. In the communities of Norfolk County, and there's 28 communities, we go down to the Rhode Island border, to Cohasset, to Brookline. Attorneys could do closings at their office, go online, check to make sure there's no liens, and then they transmit the package electronically. It's been authorized by the federal government, it's been authorized by the state legislature, and we've been doing it, and we've been doing it quite well. We try to treat, we love people coming to 649 High Street in Dedham, where the registry is located. When people walk through the door, their documents get recorded, but we treat electronic recording as if people have walked through the door. We've been applauded for doing so because it's created some efficiencies. A lot of people that use electronic recording find it efficient. It finds that especially the attorneys, in dealing with their clients, the banks and the lenders, it helps them, and it just creates certain efficiencies. One of the things, in fact, today was the first day that we recorded a document electronically. We were the first in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to record a document in land court. I have to thank, again, the Quincy delegation. You had Representative Hunt, but you have, Tacky Chan, Bruce Ayers, Ron Mariano, as state representatives, and Senator John Keenan. There was legislation that we filed, the Registers of Deeds Association. We filed at the beginning of the last legislative session, and on January 3rd, 2017, the last day of the legislative session, this bill got passed, which in essence removed the barriers to electronic recording on the land court side. So again, a lot of things that get done at the state level, at the state legislature, people don't really notice, but it does have an impact. And I think what that legislation did was not only help us record electronically. There was a statute that said we have to, store all the original documents. We have over 1.3 million stored original documents from the land court. And a lot of the other registries don't have as big a space as I do at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. It's a beautiful building, but we're even running out of space.
I was going to say, how is space?
And we've put high density shelving in. So you do things to better operate the registry, and I have to thank the state legislators, and the law got signed by Governor Baker on January 11th, and now we're up and running in the land court, so which is good. So we've started, and we'll continue to see how it goes, because there's a learning curve with the staff and everything, but it's been done on the recorded land side. And the good news is, for the first time in Massachusetts history, a land court document was recorded electronically. First time in Norfolk County's history. And so we're actually changing a form of recording that dates back, a while.
Talk about the importance of mortgage discharges, the importance of recording those.
Yes, mortgage discharges a document. That's a document that tells the world that your mortgage has been paid off and discharged. So we all have to borrow money. I mean, you have obligations, you have children in college. Everyone has to borrow money for different reasons, just to buy the house even. And so when you borrow money, a mortgage gets recorded at the registry. And what happens, and we've seen it a lot at the registry, the mortgage got paid off. And what happens is a lot of times the mortgage discharges didn't get recorded, which would tell the world that mortgage has been paid off. And we see it a lot. People coming in saying, hey, I have to do a closing. I was told I need to get a mortgage discharge. I paid that off 20 years ago. What's going on? And a lot of it is, I'm a big believer in community banking, and you have a lot of great community banks throughout the county. They did it right. They recorded the mortgage discharges, but some of the bigger banks, they've done a disservice to the land recording system. I don't think they always follow the rules, and a lot of times these mortgage discharges never got recorded. They never sent them to the Registry of Deeds, or if they sent them, in fairness to all, if they sent them to the consumer, they never made it clear to the consumer really that, hey, you got to take that document to the Registry of Deeds to record. And the reason we mention it is, you want to. You can go online, www.norfolkdeeds.org, or come by one of our computer seminars at the registry. You can learn how to look up this information, and you can check. And you'd rather check now than get that call a couple of days before a closing that says, hey, we can't close because we don't have a discharge on file. And the reason we bring it up as a consumer issue is it takes time. Now, if you go, again, I'm a big believer in community banking. If you go to the local community bank, I'm sure you go into the bank and say, hey, I paid that mortgage off. Can you look it up? They'll look it up. They'll draft the discharge for you, probably go into the next room where the vice president is, and they sign it. And again, the recording fees are set by the registry. Take it by the registry. Or if we're at office hours in the various communities, come by the office hours at the town hall, and we'll take it back to get recorded. But sometimes, and people forget, in the 1990s, banks went out of business. Some banks have merged. It gets a little trickier trying to track down where has my bank gone. And we have a document. You can go online at our registry website, www.norfolkdeeds.org, and you can look up that document because it has state and federal contact information, whether telephone numbers, website emails that you can contact, like the Division of Banking at the state level, to just find out where your bank has gone so you can, follow up with them. And, and in fairness to the larger banks, they've gotten better. I know there were some lawsuits with the prior Attorney General, and I think everyone's a lot more sensitive to making sure discharges are recorded. So as a consumer, you may say, well, wait a minute, that should have been the lawyer's responsibility or the bank's responsibility, and they may be right. But ultimately, it's your property, and if you just want to make sure, ultimately because it's your property, it will come back on you if it's not done right. So just make sure that discharges get recorded.
You mentioned a computer seminar. There is one happening this season.
Yes, in May 11th, it started way back. When we put a new document management computer system in, we said, well, we got to open it up to the people that use the registry, which was the lawyers, the title examiners, the engineers. But I said, well, we should open it up to everybody. And we've done it in the spring and the fall for years, and you'd be surprised how many people come through, just because they're interested in real estate. So you could come to the computer seminar. It's at 4:30 on May 11th. Check our website throughout the year for other dates in the future. And we have like a little class. We do, we do a little speaking about what the registry's about, and we have some interactive. You go right on the computers, and it's like going to class for an hour or so. And most people say that they learned something, and that's what it's about.
Let's turn now to protection and talk about the Homestead Act. It is automatic. However, you can opt to increase the protection amount.
Yes, and again, I mentioned your state legislators before. You mentioned the homestead is automatic. That didn't just happen. For the first time in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts history, they have an automatic homestead, where if you've done nothing, at least you get an automatic homestead protection of $125,000 that can be apportioned in different ways depending on ownership. But for a relatively modest filing fee, $35 in the land court, $36 on the recorded land side, you could record a homestead, which is a declaration of homestead is a creature of the state legislature under Chapter 188, which allows people to declare an estate a homestead. And if you declare an estate a homestead, it gives you certain protections. Now, it doesn't protect against not paying your mortgage, because you could have a homestead, but the bank can still foreclose on you. If you don't pay your taxes to the community you live in, they can take the property by tax title, even if you have a homestead. But you may have certain credit card debts, or you may get into a bad car accident where your insurance doesn't cover the judgment against you. And what the homestead does is put a picket fence around the home where they cannot force the sale of your home to satisfy that debt. So there's been some changes, and you should thank your state legislators. I know it's been expanded to mobile homes. You can come by the Registry of Deeds if you have a mobile, some of the mobile home property owners in certain parts of our county, can record it. There are other protections if you have a homestead. If you sell your house and you have a homestead recorded, a creditor can't come down and swoop in and try to take that money. It's protected, again, for a limited period of time, 1 year. If your house burnt down and you got a casualty insurance check to build that house up, the homestead being recorded protects the proceeds of that check, again, for a limited period of time, 2 years. So it gives you some time to build up. And when I first was registered, the protection was $300,000, and it's been increased to $500,000. So there's a lot of good that comes out of the homestead. My training is as an attorney, and I know people don't look at attorneys in high regard sometimes and say, hey, 10 different attorneys, you get 10 different opinions. But I always say, I'd say 9.9 out of 10 would say you should have a homestead recorded on your property. There's no substitute for good insurance, but it's just that added layer of protection. And the good news is, once that homestead is valid, you get the benefit of the changes, but you don't have to keep refiling it.
That's a good point.
It runs with the property. Now, if you have a big house somewhere and you sell the house and you downsize to a smaller condo, well, you have to put another homestead on because your principal residence has shifted. And the other good news with the legislation, and thank the legislators all over, all your legislators who were part of this, there was language in mortgages that terminated or voided your homestead, and the legislature put a language together that says, look, if that language is in a mortgage, it does not terminate or kill your homestead. So again, it's the registry deals with people's homes. The legislature dealing with people's homes. People might not know what's going on sometimes, but there's a lot of important things that are taking place, and people should take advantage of it.
I'm going to challenge you. We only have about 5 minutes left, and obviously a very important program. A fairly new program is the Consumer Notification Service. So I think we'll talk about that next, if that's okay.
Yeah, because that's dealing with fraud, and there's fraud out there. My background, I used to work as an assistant district attorney, and sometimes people do bad things to people. One of the things that's going on, and we've seen it nationwide, is fraud with respect to real estate. We have not seen that in Norfolk County, but it's only a matter of time. The consumer notification program that we have was, again, one of the first ones here in Massachusetts. You can sign up. And get an email. And it works like this. My name's William O'Donnell. I sign up. I get emails that say, oh, there was a William J. O'Donnell document recorded. Well, it's not me, but I can check. Great. I'm William P. O'Donnell. But it works. I've signed up for it myself. I get notified when something comes through and gets recorded at the registry. And why that's important is there might be a time when suddenly I get that email and I look and I go, wait a minute, that's my home. I didn't sign that deed. So the consumer notification program doesn't prevent the fraud, but at least you get a notice on it. And then we have on our website links to the law enforcement, the district attorney's office, the law enforcement authorities around the county where you can get in touch with them. Doesn't prevent the fraud, but you can get on it right away to kind of limit the damage. And I think it's well worth doing.
I know you and I have talked in the past about copies of deeds, And though there are services out there that aren't connected to the registry that will charge you a lot to get a copy of your deed, and whereas that may be legitimate, there's no reason to pay that amount.
Well, I always say it may be legal. I know the Attorney Generals, past and present, have looked at it. We've written to the Secretary of State's office. There's fine print. It may be legal, but I find it unconscionable. You can come directly to the Registry of Deeds. Most deeds are 1 or 2 pages. Pay a couple of bucks. Some of these $2 at most, $2 or $3. Some of these organizations for $60, they'll get you a certified copy of your deed where they come to the registry and pay $2 or $3 to do it. Others now send out what looks like a real estate tax bill, and for $83, they call it a document processing fee. Don't pay anywhere from $60 to $83 for a document that you can get directly from the Registry of Deeds for a lot less, $2 or $3. And if you catch us at Outreach, we're in all 28 communities in Norfolk County. We certify the deeds for free at one of our outreach events, whether it's at the town halls or the Elks or the Kiwanis, the Lionses, or the senior centers around the county that we go and speak at, as well as the Veterans Agent. We've been to some of the VFWs and American Legions.
And mentioning the veterans on our last note, talk about Suits for Success. That does now include veterans.
Well, we thank veterans for their service. This is another small way to do it. We've had for years the Suits for Success program, where we are a drop-off point. Anyone wants to clean out their, not just suits, it's women clothes, men clothes, and we put them to good use. And one of the groups that we just partnered with, which is the Veterans Administration in Jamaica Plain, we donate clothing there. We also donate to Interfaith Social Services, as well as Father Bill's Place in Mainspring. So the suits will get repurposed, and it's a great donation. And again, the veterans deserve it, as well as the other people we donate the clothes to.
And I guess we do have time to mention just briefly the New Life Home Refurnishing Program.
Yes, and again, people are not only looking to clean out their closets for suits, but the New Life Home Refurnishing Program it's run out of Walpole, Massachusetts. It takes items that can be donated. I know at the registry we're collecting linens, comforters, blankets, pots and pans, cooking utensils. If you go directly to New Life, they take anywhere from mattresses, beds and bureaus. And what it does is these people, there's 50 agencies that refer people. Over 350 families were helped last year, and it's supposed to grow to 450 families where they get referred to this group, a nonprofit group, and it allows them to get furnishings for their home. And so it's sort of an extension of the Suits for Success program, and we're working on it. So if you have any items that need to be donated, or you're cleaning out your garage or house, we can repurpose that. And again, it's for people that are in need, and for people who have been referred by the various social service agencies and religious groups make referrals to New Life Home Refurnishing.
And on that note, I will ask rather for you to give out the phone number to the registry if folks have any additional information, and follow that with the website as well.
Sure. If you have any questions, we talked a lot about modernization, but we still do it the old-fashioned way. We have a customer service center, 1-781-461-6101. The website is www.norfolkdeeds.org. Or you can email me directly at register O'Donnell, ODONNELL, @norfolkdeeds.org.
Great. Thank you for coming in and providing this quarterly update, in this case the spring season here, and reflecting back to the winter season that has passed.
No, thank you very much for having me. This has been great.
Pleasure. Thank you at home for watching. You have been watching a program of Quincy Access Television. Please continue to watch QATV for more locally produced programming.